I've ever played against growing up. So with
Hey, kids running around everywhere.
with the wives. That's a big concept.
Yes. No, you started. That was yeah.
The whole thing.
Show me, baby girl, just don't. You already know that up. So just tell me how bad you really. Show me, baby girl, just don't. You already know that up.
What's good, everybody? I'm Pete, sitting alongside my brothers and co-host Jesse and Q, and you're listening to the Talk Your Walk podcast. We're a voice looking to make a positive difference in life, and the unspoken words weigh the heaviest. If you're not speaking it, you're storing it, and that load gets heavy. So, who's yours? It's been a minute. We haven't done a podcast in a while,
It's been a while.
but it is good to be back. It's one of our favourite things we like to do, and yeah, since the last time we've done a podcast, what's everyone been up to?
I just want to show everyone our surroundings. It's a bit different to our last podcast. I think we're just grateful. For for Jess and Tyler for letting us borrow the room. But
Shout out to Charlotte.
Charlotte pub. I love it. Yeah, a lot's been going on since our last podcast. A lot that we want to share. But obviously we can't share everything today. But rugby's still going strong for me. I'm 39 this year and 41. Tapping on that retirement door, so rugby league, it's a roller coaster and it doesn't stop. And hopefully, I can finish on a good note.
I think just with the Talk Your Walk, just a little bit of an update. It's probably a setback / journey of where we started and where we are now. I think everyone has the same mindset behind Talk Your Walk and the impact that we want to make. But we obviously have learned that we can't do that straight away, especially playing professional rugby league, finding that peak performance each and every week. To do this, we've got to set aside time, and there's a lot of sacrifices that we already do, but the sacrifice becomes times 2. And now we're in this space where we're actually getting on, we're cracking on with the impact that we want to get across to you guys. And obviously we want to just send more content out there, to reach anyone that can value from what we're doing. So I don't think anything's changed in terms of our mindset and our reach, but it's just us getting together more, communicating more, and get some content out there just so we can have the impact.
Just on Talk Your Walk, we are now officially a foundation.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Long time coming, and obviously being full time, I didn't do much of it, and I'm really grateful for the hard work that you guys have been putting on behind the scenes to getting the job done. But yeah, I'm very excited for the future, and like you said, it was tough to balance everything, and as a new and young foundation, we did struggle to try and fit everything in at once. But it was a good lesson, and like I said, I'm very excited for what holds for Talk Your Walk Foundation.
Well, life happens, and that's what happened with, I guess, all 4 of us. Obviously, Sui's not here. I don't know where Sui is. I don't know where Sui is. He's in
the jungle.
It's in the jungle somewhere. I'm trying to stay up. But yeah, life happens, and I think it's a good thing now that we're kind of putting our foot down and trying to create this podcast. We had to use someone else's room, someone else's equipment. We managed to get our own equipment. They're also here, let us borrow one of the rooms at the Charlo. So everything's looking up, and we're just excited to get going. Share some content and share our stories, and hopefully create impact.
Awesome.
Let's go.
Alright, today I think it's important we talk about the mental side of the game. Why it's so mentally challenging for us. Basically because, I don't know if you guys have seen, but Kyle Turner, he's one of the nicest kids that I've ever played against growing up. So we
Oh, your kids running around everywhere.
where's the wives?
Close the door.
That's a big concept.
Yes. No, you're starting. That was yeah.
The whole thing. So we need that as content. We need metal.
No, just
Just play on.
carry on from what you were talking
Yeah,
about. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have seen, but Kyle Turner,
Yeah.
ex-NRL player, a really nice kid, and from what I've read, he committed suicide, and I feel like it's very important to talk about the mental challenge of our game because people don't see what we go through day to day. They just have the perception of what they see from the outside. So my question to you two would be, why is being a rugby league player or an athlete mentally challenging? And what challenges do we face that, you know, the public or the fans or the supporters won't know about us?
Well, I think it's a dream, especially where we come from. You know, I think all three of us were raised up in Australia. Rugby league is probably the biggest sport in the country, and growing up, the dream to play in the NRL, and whether you play in the NRL or don't, you know, the roller coaster of emotions is still there, whatever club that you go to. And with Kyle Turner, I followed him as a kid coming through. You know, I seen him play first grade, and their condolences go out to his family, you know, to all his friends, and you know, what a tragedy, what a sad story. And you know, I think we can all speak on the ups and downs that you face as an NRL player. And he was a player that was up and coming, and you know, he played for the Indigenous All Stars team, and I read that, you know, he suffered with injury, and you know, and the setbacks that he was facing, and you know, I can just feel, you know, understand what he went through, and you know, the setbacks that he had to face. And with me, like I've been down that road. You know, I've been down that road where you know, through injury, you have a good season and you get injured, or you're not getting picked through, you know, your form. And you know, I know, and it's a tough feeling. It's a tough feeling, and if you don't have the people around you and you don't have your family there, you can easily, you know, dip into depression, and that's when it gets dangerous. And you know, I'm sure you can touch on, you know, your experiences as well in rugby.
I think just the first part of the question is, why is it difficult for us athletes? I think it's difficult in anything you do, whether you work in a business or you have a job. I think there's pressures and different like hardships that you go through. So it doesn't affect just athlete in itself. I think if it affects everyone and anyone, and it's harder because this guy was well known for his love of the game and the community around him, and he won a premiership with the South Rabbitohs. So everyone in that community know him. You know, they hadn't won a premiership for so long, and he was part of that team, a big part of that team. You know, I think he scored the first try in the grand final. So, in saying that, like we always say on our podcast that it's not weak to speak, and everyone says that, like, when you do speak to someone, you know, there's a weight lifted off your shoulders, and we say it constantly now that I think everyone's saying it, but like we need to get to a stage where if we can't speak to our friends and our families, you know, where else can we step out? Like, does it take money to put down on the table to pay to see someone to get help? Is that something that's going to keep, or do you go and see someone that you don't know at all so they don't judge you, you know? Because everyone kind of knows that, like, I know when I'm going through hardship and things that I don't want to tell anyone about. Like sometimes I don't want to tell my wife. I don't want to tell one of my closest mates. You know, you feel like you just want to be outside the circle at times. And I don't know if Turner was going through that, because I'm sure he would have had loads of support around him, but just didn't have the hands to reach out and grab someone. So, that. And then the second part of your question, what was it?
What challenges do we face as athletes?
Yeah, I think us athletes just face challenges where we feel shame to reach out, and also the constant battle of trying to impress someone, whether it's at training, whether it's on the 80 minutes on the field. We're always judged, and if we're not judged by our coaches at training, we're judged by the fans on the TV, on the wherever whatever. You can't even go out on a night out and not get judged now in these days. So those are the battles that we face. And sometimes the media around what we do, we don't get a space to speak on what really happened. And I think that kills a lot of us.
You talk about being judged, right? There's an obvious stigma about athletes, especially rugby league players, right? When you talk about being ashamed of that, why is there a stigma around us being separated from an everyday person who go through mental health?
There's, for me, I think, like when you look at rugby league players, you think of straight away these warrior-like athletes who go out, and battle and try and get the best, against the opposition. You try to hurt them legally, well, most of us, any way possible. So you try to get the win, and I think that can transform into your everyday life. And I think that's, when I say that, is when we play on the field, we want to be hard, and we want to get the better of the opposition through being tough. But then for me, I think that translates into real life, where I want to try and stay hard, outside of rugby, and not showing my emotions and not showing weakness. That's something that I need to try and change, and I think that's across rugby league, because when fans watch us play, all they see is the 80 minutes, and they see us trying to run over guys, smash guys, and that's all they think of us as athletes. And if they think we can do it on the rugby field, then for me it's how that's like us, in real life. And it's obviously it's not, it's not like that. We're all human beings. We share the same feelings as everyone else, and I think that's what they got to try and understand. Because we do struggle as like everyone else.
Well, this is the way I see it, right? Like, and this is my personal opinion. I hate the tag, I'm a rugby league player, but I don't really like it when someone says it to me. Because at the end of the day, we're a person first, right? So the way I see it is, we are just a person who plays rugby league, right? But we get judged all the time on just a rugby league player, right? But like you said, we bleed like everyone else does. We have kids like everyone else does. We have a family, we pay bills like everyone else does. And like you see it all the time, fans say, oh, well, you get paid to do that, that's part of your job. Right? Everyone gets paid to do their job. At the end of the day, we are still human beings. Right? We still have feelings just like everyone else. And I feel like it affects our family, me personally as well. I think it affects our family. We take our kids to the games, they hear everything the fans say. They go to school, they see other kids who support other teams. They might see us as, I don't know, like they might see you as a grub, and then they'll be like, oh, your dad's a grub. You understand? Like it just doesn't affect us. And I find that's why it's mentally challenging. But not just that, just the job that we have to do. I feel like there's not many jobs out there where you are kept to a high standard from the first minute you walk in at work, right, till you clock off. And I'm talking about your coach, your boss is standing over you, looking every single second of the minute, making sure you're doing what's right. And then on game day, you prepare all week, right? You try your best to prepare all week. You rock up to game day and you have somebody else who's trying to make sure you have the worst day of your job. Do you know what I mean? There's not many jobs that are like that, and I feel like a lot of people don't understand that. It's like when you try and put a charger in at night time, right? And you try and put it in a hole and you just keep missing. It's like someone's underneath the bed, you keep pulling the charger out.
Which hole though?
That hole there. So you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when we're playing, we prepare so much, we dedicate a lot of our time, and that's not just our training, at home doing extra videos for the coming game, for the next day's session, right? And that's time away from your family as well. And then you rock up to game day, and you're trying to do what you're supposed to do, but you have somebody else out there stopping you from doing that.
And also, I think the fans got to understand it's a performance-based industry, right? And no one goes out there to, play bad, And I know every single player out there goes in and puts 100% effort into each game. So, we go out there and try and put our best foot forward. And a lot of the times, it doesn't come off. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And and I think the fans have got to understand that when they do watch us play, because there's been a lot of times where I've had a bad game, and I used to go on social media and see the comments, and it used to really affect me. And nowadays I don't go on social media too much, because you take the good with the bad, and I know if I see one negative comment, it will affect me. And so I think that's the other thing that they got to understand is, we go out there to try and do our best, and sometimes that doesn't happen, and it doesn't mean that we don't love the team that we're playing for. We're not trying to put 100% effort in. Just means it didn't work that day.
I just thought I'd add a story to this. Like a couple of weeks ago, we versed Featherston, and this has got to do with the fans as well. They were giving me stick, obviously because I'm an ex-Featherston player, and it's all good, I was going back at them, we forced a few errors and I let them know about it, and the banter was alright because it was against me, it's alright, give it to me on the field. They're like, I can deal with that. But what really hurt me with this one was a bit different, and we can't do anything as players, is a couple of young guys started talking shit to my daughters, when the game was finished. Now, that's something that fans need to know. It's like, they can do this now, and I can't do anything about it, and I can't really blow up on social media or call the police, because we will never find these guys. But this is something that we have to go with. Now I have to just sit there and take it and be okay that my daughters were pointed at and mocked about, where do that to me, tease me, not my family. And these are the pressures like that you're talking about that we face, and the fans probably don't see it. Those guys probably just had a bad week at work, and they took it out on two young girls that are under 14. You know what I mean? So I think, just to the fans, the messages, these are the things that they probably don't know. And if you're a normal person and you're there, you can do something about it, because nothing will happen. But if we done something about it, it'll be all over socials. We'll lose our job, and then we can't play rugby no more, or suspension. So yeah, I just thought I'd add a story to what we're talking about, eh?
No, 100%. I feel like fans, they go off emotions, whether they judge us, whether they try and say something to us or our families. It's just an emotional period that they're going through. Like you said, we as players, we can take that, we can cop that, but leave our families out of it, right? And like I said, that is why it's mentally challenging as well, because with the job, we can't.
Yeah, I mean, we've got fixed. Oh, for myself, I'll talk for myself. I've got thick skin, so it doesn't get to me because I know it's part of the game, But some people that don't have thick skin like myself, they would have lost their. If a different player, say he's 18 years old, he's come in, he's playing, and he's getting screamed at by fans like that, some people can't handle it. Yeah. So I'm not. Yeah, so I just don't want to make sure, not everyone can handle it, but, with me and my experience, that's what I went through. Yeah.
You're right. We're all not the same. Some players...
I think it affects everyone to some point, whether, players, other players affects more, compared to other players, but there's a little, because as human beings, that's how we are, right? Every negative thing we care about. And so if we see that, it's gonna affect us a little bit. And like what he was talking about with the kids, that's a no-go zone. No matter what sport you play or just in life in general. Like you don't go after the kids because that's when you take it personal, and that's when the tiger comes out, mate. You don't want the tiger coming out. I want the Hulk coming out, mate. I've seen the Hulk.
It's like,
You don't want him to come out.
It's like what Jesse said. You can't watch how you say it because you could say it to the wrong person, right?
Yeah.
There's a video going around on social media, YouTube, where a fan sent Anthony Joshua. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but sent him like an abusive message, right? And Anthony Joshua found out where he stayed, went and visited him, and just said to him, like, you're lucky you said it to the right person, because if you said to somebody else, if I could find you, they could find you, and they would have done worse than what I'm doing to you right now.
Wow.
I'm just giving you a lesson.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's 100%.
So like for Jess, yeah, it probably did hurt Jess, but for somebody else who didn't have thick skin or didn't react differently to Jess, it probably for those fans it probably could have been worse for them. Because it is a personal thing to go after our kids or our nieces and nephews.
Yeah. But in saying that, with the way that your club's going and the way your team's going, you started off quite strong. 6 in a row.
8 straight.
Oh, sorry,
8
8 straight. Now you've got 8 straight losses.
10.
You can see, like, I've been on
Yeah.
forums where you're seeing, Warrington fans comment on like players and all that, just on how you've been this year. How's it been with you mentally? With your season and how it's gone, and with the way it's been. You're predicted to come in the top 2, top 3.
Yeah,
he's a close to not being in the 6, which is massive. So, how have you been mentally with all of that?
Rugby wise, 8 straight. I think that was a new club record as well. We were buzzing. I was buzzing. My family was buzzing. And then that 10 straight losses period. I'm like Jess. I've got thick skin. Like I can handle, the booze at the games. But I take my kids. Like my son Mess, he loves rugby. Right, he goes every home game, and he hears everything. Right, every time I touch the ball, I get booed. Even when we were winning, I was getting booed and stuff like that, and Mess is hearing it. But then, for me, the way I look at it is, right, I loved playing rugby before anybody had an opinion before me. Like I decided I wanted to be a rugby player at a young age, so no one's opinion was ever going to change that for me. And then the second one is, right, for me to keep showing up when fans or even the away fans are getting at me. If I keep showing up and Mess is there watching, then I'm just inspiring him to just keep showing up against all odds. Right? Because who am I to, even to the younger kids out there who I see after and before the games, who am I to just not show up, to stop playing or to stop going to games because I'm not liked by someone else. So for me, it's just, I just want to keep showing up so then everyone understands, okay, all the young kids, the next generation, my own kids, they understand no matter what they are going through, right, they can still achieve what they want to. And everything we always, you guys own businesses, right? You're a successful businessman now. You can back me up on this. It was never easy right?
Well, it's still not easy.
Yeah, but like we understand, to get to success, it's never an easy road. And that's just the same as when I take my rugby and with the crowds. I'm different to you. I'm always on social media. I like it. I like the banter. Like I just like enjoying the banter with the fans and interacting, because for me, I know it's going to be all done one day, and I won't be able to do that anymore. So that's how I see it, and that's how I like to approach my game.
Does it change your kind of like routine going into games? To like, do you feel like you need to like play well to shut them up? In other words, or how's your mindset through that week?
Well, see, for me, I thought I was playing well and I was still getting, stick for it. But my biggest fear is to let my teammates down. And as long as I know that they still want to play with me and that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do for the team, I'm sweet with it. Doesn't matter what happens to me from outside the group. And I know what it's like to play for your childhood club. You know, and then in my team we've got like 10 of them. 10 boys who grew up in the town, okay, who got to play for their local team and that. So when I look at myself and I look at them, I don't want to let them down. I mean, I don't like to come to someone else's house and not care and not give my all. You know, growing up in Newcastle, when you go through the system, the club saying is be the player that others want to play with, and that's the one thing I've taken from my whole rugby league career. That every team I play in, I always want to be the player that others want to play with. So I'm just like you, Jess. Like I'm lucky that I can handle a lot of things. But in the same way, if I can keep showing up when things are hard, especially when my kids are around, then I can show them and then they can learn that as they get older, what they're going to go through and how they can handle it.
It's a tough one because, like, obviously your last club was Cass with us, and you were pretty much loved there. You know, everyone showed love, and then to go to Warrington and getting like probably the other side of stick is like one emotion to another, eh? So like, has that been difficult?
Yeah, I think with Warrington, the expectations are very high.
Mm.
You know, you hear it all the time. It's set by the club. You know, and the fans always want to see success. You know, every week, every year they want to see it. And there's only 4 clubs that won Super League. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I feel like
You named
even
it?
Bradford, Leeds,
Wigan.
Wigan, Saints.
Yeah.
And I feel like even before I went to Warrington, I feel like I would look at their teams and be like, how the hell have they not won one yet? You know, and I feel like they need to win one.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this year's the year. They deserve it. The town deserves it. But yeah, it was. I felt a little bit last year because I came with the coach. The new coach brought me, and I was a new kid on the block. Even after knowing like everything I knew, how experienced I was, and that I still felt like I was just the younger player that just joined first team, and I didn't want to step on any toes. And the first thing I wanted to do was to gain the respect of them boys, and I'm pretty grateful I did.
Nice. I want to ask you a question. How is it changing environment from a team who was favourites to get promoted last year to a team who finished outside of the 6?
Yeah, it's I think with what Pete says, the pressure to win is obviously behind you each and every week. But like for me, it was a different kind of season of my life. I thought coming into part-time would mean I have all this time free and I could work on business and get my life set up for after rugby. But I quickly realised last year that I was getting burnt out, you know, trying to do what everyone was doing at Featherstone was working all day and then coming to rugby and playing really well. But these guys have been doing it since the age of 13. You know what I mean? I'm coming into it like I used to do it, but my work's changed from when I used to work in the security and then do rugby. You know, security is a job where you just need to stand in a certain place. I'm not saying that you don't need to use your brain, but you pretty much don't. You stand in a place, you look at people who are drunk, and then you say, yep, they need to go. All right? Simple. Where the business that I'm in now is I'm actually the person who makes all the decisions at the top. Now, if the business goes down, I go down with it, you know? And if the business goes up, that's because I prep really well. And I try to win in both parts of my life. I try to win in rugby, and then I try to win in business. And what happened last year is I felt like business went really well, you know, and I was in a lot. I definitely would say that. But at the same time, the season that my body was going through with Featherstone I was going through a season of just injuries after injuries after injuries. And I don't know if that's the workload. I don't know if that was the mindset. But I definitely believe now that like there's always a season of, your life where you do go through injuries, and there's a season of your life where you do go through like a mental side of things that you have to get through, and then there's a season of your life where you just keep getting dropped, or your performances up and down. And definitely last year, I look at it now and I'm like, wow, man, that was just a season of just injuries, and I always try to come back to play well. And I realize now, if I had to redo it all, I would come back to play, just to play the game, get back, play, and then okay, that's 20 minutes ticked off, 40 minutes ticked off till I got to 80. And then, but I was too worried about the pressures, the reason why Fev signed me. I need to train harder. So I was probably overtraining at times. I was probably over preparing and forgetting about the fun in the game. And then when I got on the field, I was so inconsistent that I played really well one week and then the next week I'll drop. And then looking at it now, like going to a whole new environment, and then the people around me, like our coach at the moment, he's given me one thing to do, and then I'll go, yep, sweet. And then if I do that one thing really well on the weekend, then my whole game kind of just glues to it. And I can honestly say, like, I have dropped back on business. Like, I used to have 3 pubs. I've dropped it all back to 1. We had 34 houses. We've dropped it back to 22. Like, so we have kind of gone down in the business world and then picked up the rugby. And yeah, this year's been so much fun, with our team and the new people, the environment, our bus. It's been awesome, man. We've been, held accountable in our bus. Trying to then take our leadership skills and our communication skills within the team, and trying to get our team to a place where they never thought they could get to. And every week's a challenge. Like, we're inconsistent at times, but when we get it right, it's such a buzz that we got to play our part within the win or the role or the mindset. So yeah, we're learning a lot, and I think I've gone over the question, but
Nah, it's good to hear the insight of what you went through, because we spoke about fans before and we spoke about players. Like, everyone doesn't see that, everyone doesn't know what's going on behind the scenes. So it's good that you both managed to express that and let everyone know, because what we go through, like I said before, it's a roller coaster, and the mental side of rugby, it can be tough at times, and it can really bring you down. But also, the ups in rugby, you can't get that anywhere else. So
100.
that's awesome that you shared that. Just with me, like, I'm, like I said earlier, I'm coming towards the end of my career, and there's times where I'm quite anxious about the transition period. Like, I don't know how I'm going to be when rugby goes, whether that's this year, whether I agree to go one more year, and so that's something I'm trying to battle with, because there's times where when I think about it, I just get full of emotion and get anxious, and anxiety starts building up. But I guess it's repurposing, isn't it? Trying to repurpose your life and trying to find another purpose, because rugby's all I ever knew, all I know, and what's next. And I can see a lot of boys who do retire struggle, and I know how they're feeling, because that's what I'm starting to feel that now. So I guess with luckily I got the boys around me, and Sui when he's around, when he decides to turn up. But
why do you think you feel anxious, and why do you think this happens to everyone or anyone?
That I feel anxious about.
Yeah.
Anxious.
Ancient.
It's a bit anxious. I think it's the unknown. That's the unknown. I think that's you can ask that question to anyone who's done something for so many years, and something that they've loved, something that's given them a lot. But then to know that that's going to be the end, whether it's this year or next year, and not knowing what's after that, I think that's where the anxiety comes from.
Because back home, I know a lot of, guys who retired, and I always ask them, why are you scared? And the main answer I always get is because the money.
Yeah.
He goes, now the money stops. And like when they said that to me when I was young, I was only coming through, and two guys that I looked up, my whole life. I probably won't say their name because they're doing really well now. But it took them nearly 2.5 years to get off the lounge after rugby, and they said they'll have a break, and they end up sitting on the lounge for 6 months doing nothing. And obviously you start feeling depressed, you start feeling ancient. You know what I mean? But like that's the main thing that I always hear is like the money stops.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, oh wow, how do I, what should I?
Yeah.
Like,
and I think it is though. I think that's a big reason why, because you've been getting paid a certain amount all these years, and for something that you love doing, and then once that stops, you need to find something else that you love doing that gives you, or that you want to get paid similar to, and that's a big reason is the money, but also finding something else that you love. Obviously this is something that I love. The Talk Your Walk Foundation is something we all created because it's something that we love. It's our purpose. It's something that we enjoy. I got the trial on property with the houses as well. So although I've been active with trying to get ready for retirement, there's still that ancient feeling that I get just thinking about it.
I don't think you can prepare, like you can try and prepare as much as you can, but I still feel like you're going to feel a little bit anxious or a bit worried, because it is the unknown. Right? There's one thing about humans, that change is difficult for everyone, right? Because we are going into the unknown. But is there a way to prepare yourself to understand the financial bit, do you think? Because you are right, we are going from a job where you get paid a lot of money to most jobs out there probably aren't even half of what you can earn in rugby or in sports. So is there a way that you think that we can prepare ourselves for the financial bit?
I think start earlier. Well, with
like downgrading a house or something. I don't know.
Oh, maybe yeah. Well, yeah. Spend to your means, eh? Like maybe, like I'm constantly talking to Phoenix, who's just started his journey with rugby league, and I'm constantly telling him to start something, like go out there and try and figure out what you love. Obviously rugby league's his first passion, but try and figure out whether there's something else that you enjoy doing. And then once you find it, and start, digging into it, doing your research to see if you can start getting paid doing whatever it is. And if you start early enough, you get that side of things sorted, then I guess you can try and be ready for when you retire. If you do retire from whether that's injury or just being old like me.
Yeah. Well, I haven't thought about it much, to be honest. So I think we're just gonna live in a caravan just to downgrade our bills and that. So and get rid of some of my 5 kids. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, good session, man.
No, good catch up, eh?
Appreciate it. First episode back, season 2. It's good to see you, boys.
No, good to see you. Hopefully, the Tigers here.
Tiger, rah!
We'll try and get him in the next one. But
Yeah.
Jess, do you have a lesson or a blueprint or a gem that you can share with somebody,
Oh,
all our viewers out there?
oh yeah. Most athletes or high successful people do things that people don't see, and that's why they get wins.
I like that.
Being accountable when no one's around there. I like it.
Appreciate it.
Well,
Shout out to Dan Carter.
Dan Carter. Thank you, Dan Carter.
Thank you, Uncle Danny, man.
Tag Uncle Danny in our videos, please. Socials.
Ah, shosho.
1, 2, 3.
Appreciate it.
Show me, baby girl, just don't. You already know the